Hello, beautiful members. Welcome to the Sacred Circle. This is my first live. I'm so excited to go over some important topics today about anxiety and emotional regulation. The people in the group have spoken, and this is one of the most trying things that people have difficulty with, and it really bogs up our intuition. Excuse me. And so I want to help you with some tools and strategies to help heal past trauma and to get rid of these emotional blocks so that you could have a better chance of getting in tune with your inner guidance system. So it's important to know that when you're healing emotional blocks and you are trying to regulate your emotions and not let anxiety get in your way, you need a holistic approach that is based off of addressing issues of not only the mind and body, but as well as your spirit. In fact, it's probably the most prominent issue when it comes to emotional regulation is that people tend to not even realize that they need to address these things on a spiritual level. It's actually the umbrella to these problems when we neglect our spiritual health. So I'd like to go over today with some tools and strategies quickly to help you with these emotional blocks. And we're going to start with cognitive emotional approaches. So the tools and strategies that I would use in my own life, I learned through 10 years of therapy, and they actually have been like the cornerstone of my own healing is doing inner child work, establishing emotional boundaries, and reframing beliefs. So the way we could do this is through journaling. And I might sound like a broken record when it comes through journaling, unless you are highly introspective and very reflective of your own behaviors and you have a high drive for self-awareness. Most people don't, especially in the beginning stages. It's very difficult to get in tune with that awareness around what's blocking you emotionally, what things need to be healed, what your triggers are. We spend so much time avoiding these things. So journaling is kind of like a safe way to go about it. You're not sitting with it, you're actually getting it out and using it as a distraction. So when you're journaling, you could ask yourself, what would I say to my younger self if I could meet up with them? What are some of the things that have happened in your childhood where you felt maybe neglected, or your parents weren't responsive to your needs, or you felt like you were alone a lot of the time in your childhood? I know I was. So a lot of these things show up in our adulthood by not allowing us to feel worthy of the things that we want to feel, especially when it comes to love and attention. If we didn't feel worthy of receiving love, excuse me, I have a catch in my throat. How are we supposed to give that love to ourselves? So we can start by giving that love to ourselves by getting in tune with that younger self that felt so wounded and so scared and so alone, and talking to them. Essentially, it is an actual approach to therapy called Gestalt therapy that is kind of role playing with yourself. So I would highly suggest journaling the things that you would say to your inner child, and being that parent for yourself that you didn't have growing up. And this is the perfect way to start this healing. I did it. It was actually the cornerstone of my own healing and therapy. I had gone through talk therapy for almost a year, I think, before I got in tune with my inner child. But once that came up in talk therapy, it allowed me to really quantum leap in my own healing, essentially. Like, it's inner child work is paramount, and it might be difficult, it might be upsetting and triggering to address these things. So journaling is just a way to do it in a safe way, because you could stop at any moment. You could come back to it and you could reread things. You could check your progress. You could reframe a lot of things. And that would be the next step, is reframing the things that you've been through and being like, instead of I'm not worthy of these things, you could prove to yourself that you are worthy just by addressing it, just by even acknowledging this trauma. And it helps you reprocess it from a perspective of personal growth, being like, yes, I went through hardship. Yes, it shows up in my adult life in ways that aren't serving me. And I have the ability to change that by reframing this worthiness wound that I have, and this parental wound that I have, whether it's a mother wound or a father wound. This is a space for you to show up for yourself for the first time. And so this will help you transform the narrative that you have in your life around worthiness and love, and what you're willing to accept and what you push away, and the attachments that you have. This allows you to just really cultivate some self-compassion. It might be hard to cultivate self-compassion, but when you start to address your inner child, it seems to be so much easier, simply because you are addressing a child. And it's kind of like talking to your own friends. You wouldn't When your friends say something about themselves and they have their own worthiness wounds, you don't agree with them. So why would you treat yourself the same way? Why would you say that you're not worthy when everyone else outside of you is worthy? So you are worthy of processing that trauma and getting rid of those blocks that come from old programming from when you were a baby, a child, an adolescent. And that those two bookends between being a baby and a teenager are the most critical times for that self-development to take place. So we would start journaling there and start reframing these cognitive emotions. And so this will help you start shifting your mindset and to start cultivating different neural pathways that will heal those blocks and help with that emotional regulation, because you are cultivating that compassion that you need, that you might have not been able to do up until this point. So when it comes to healing and emotional regulation, a lot of people tend to rely on more physical approaches, which is great. That's called somatic healing, and it helps us address our nervous system. And with physical healing, what I want to teach you is how to increase the tolerance for discomfort, so that you can sit with your emotions, so that you could process your emotions and you can release them appropriately, and they're not getting stuck in your body. And if they do get stuck, using a physical approach would be the best way to get rid of them. So I would highly suggest breath work. Breath is life, so it's so powerful when you utilize it intentionally. And I use a method called the Wim Hof method, and you could find videos on YouTube by him that will guide you through a 10-minute breathwork session. And it's essentially doing heavy breathing like this for about a minute. And what that does is that it oxygenates your blood, so that for the next part of that breathwork, you're sitting holding your breath for as long as possible, but essentially a minute long. And it helps you become aware of the sensations in your body, because you are literally sitting with it, but you're also allowing discomfort to come up. And when you start to run out of breath, your body starts to naturally panic. And this breath work helps you develop a tolerance for that discomfort, so that you could hold your breath longer. And what this does is that it creates physical healing, because your window of tolerance for discomfort is getting wider and wider and wider. And it helps you release that. So because of that body awareness that you're cultivating, you could start to feel where you're carrying tension in your body. And if you hold it in your gut, for example, that might be where your anxiety is coming from, or your heart might be racing. That's where your anxiety comes from. So this method allows you to get in tune with those sensations and to release them, and to build that window of tolerance, so that you're not running away from your emotions. You're not running away from the discomfort in your body and feeling like you have to distract yourself or cope in different ways to get yourself out of your body. And that leads to disassociation. And then we're not present. We get caught up in, that anxiety that causes us to run away and distract ourselves is what essentially, I don't want to get too woo here, is essentially what the elite and institutions and the society teaches us, because they don't want us to be grounded in our bodies. They realize how much potential we have when we are centered and we are grounded. So removing us from our bodies and creating scenarios where we want to literally peel off our skin and run away is the ultimate goal for the dysfunction in society that keeps us from our power. So we want to get in touch with our bodies and to start to learn to sit with that discomfort. It's literally just a sensation. It's all it is. When you look at it that way, that these are just sensations and thoughts are just causing these sensations, it's nothing to be scared of because you're actually safe. When you're sitting there and this stuff is happening, you are safe. Like on a logical level, you are not going to be harmed in any way. You're not going to die. And though it might feel scary and it might be very uncomfortable, breath work will allow you to release these things and increase that window of tolerance for discomfort. You could also release negative energy in your body through grounding techniques. Like, I would say my favorite grounding technique is literally grounding when you're walking barefoot in the grass or in the sand or in the ocean, just really connecting to the earth. And it helps us bring us back to our natural selves. And we are a part of nature. And so when we connect with the earth, skin to earth, it helps us get rid of that energy into the earth, and then we're bringing up the energy from the earth into our body, and it neutralizes free radicals on a scientific level. And those radicals are what cause inflammation in the body, they cause stress in the body, they cause illness in the body. So when we neutralize these free radicals, it helps our DNA heal. And so Mother Earth loves us. We want to connect with her with our feet and our, even in our senses. Say you're a literal tree hugger, that will give you so much calm and really change your energetic vibration, because it's affecting you on that level, on that vibrational level. So when you ground with the earth and you come in contact with the earth, you're literally doing like an energy exchange, and the earth loves us. So this is a really powerful technique to help get rid of any negative energy that is stuck in your body. And when you come back inside, you will feel amazing just from doing that. So really focus on your senses when you are grounding and realize how amazing it feels to connect with the earth and to be out in the open, to be outside, and to get rid of like any distractions, like technological distractions. Wearing shoes even is really bad for you on if you're wearing them on a constant basis. I know in America it's very common to wear your shoes indoors, and there's another reason, conspiracy theory, that when we wear shoes all the time, it really messes up our body in general, but it prevents us from grounding our bodies. So this is why this is so important, and why we're maybe taught to wear shoes all the time, because it takes us away from that healing power of being barefoot, and it messes up our posture, it messes up our body. So when we learn to just be barefoot, and I know it's winter, you could buy grounding mats. So you could go on Amazon, you could buy a grounding mat for less than $50, and you just stand on that, and it uses the electrical current from the outlet to get rid of those free radicals, because it's grounded. It's literally what the grounding does. And because it's connected to the earth and keeps us from being electrocuted. But we could take that advantage of that grounding via the outlet, use a grounding mat, and stand on it, and it'll have the same effect as it would if we were grounding outside. So being barefoot in general has so many advantages, but especially when you're utilizing grounding mats or walking outside to help get rid of that negative energy in your body, and it will free up space for better feelings. And that's why you'll feel amazing, and your anxiety won't be running rampant, because a lot of that negative energy is gone, and those negative sensations that come from that negative energy is gone, and you will feel amazing. So my most favorite topic is spiritual energetic healing to get rid of anxiety and emotional regulation. Spirituality is literally the healthiest thing you could do, that kind of serves as an umbrella to everything else. When you are suffering spiritually, you are suffering in every other area of your life, in every other dimension of wellness is being impacted by your spiritual healing. So if it was a pyramid, spiritual healing would be at the tippy top, and physical healing would be at the bottom, and then emotional and cognitive would be in the middle. And so the spirituality serves as like the top of that pyramid. It's very tiny and often neglected, but it really packs a punch, because it's on top of everything and it trickles down. So when I talk about spiritual healing in this sense and intuition, I want energetic healing to help you utilize your intuition to build that skill, but also to connect you to that higher power so that you could get the emotional benefits of being grounded and having faith and trust and being very wise, using the wisdom of our body to find out where we're carrying blocks, where we're carrying anxiety, and then using that wisdom to counteract it and to regulate our emotions and to become more of an observer to our anxiety and our emotions than to engage in it and make it worse and worse and worse. So mindful observation is one of the best ways to start. You incorporate the premise of mindfulness, of being present in the moment, using your senses to bring you back to that present moment, and just observing what comes up for you when you are in that present awareness. So you would be more aware of what's happening in your environment and how it's affecting you and how what's inside of you is affecting your environment. Maybe you're keeping yourself stuck in an environment that isn't healthy for you, like perhaps you live in a house with someone who is very emotionally abusive or emotionally reactive. That would obviously induce anxiety in your body just by living with them, because you're walking on eggshells all the time, or you're trying to manage their emotions to keep the peace, and all that's doing is causing an emotional buildup of negative energy inside you, which creates that anxiety. So we want to take control of our environment, and that starts inward. If you can't leave an abusive situation right away, then obviously you need to do your best to establish boundaries to create that emotional distance between you and whatever's in your environment causing anxiety. So when these things come up, I want to go back to that window of tolerance. You can use the mindfulness perspective to observe what is coming up for you. And when you learn to sit there with it and just observe and not engage, the emotions will come and go like waves, and the thoughts will race. But if you don't engage with those thoughts, they can't go anywhere except for leave. Everything is temporary inside of the mind, and the mind is what ultimately creates these scenarios that cause anxiety. And it's a lot of the time imagination on crack. It's really out of control a lot of the time. So we want to just learn to observe what comes up for us when we learn to be present in the moment and present in our bodies, and just letting it leave, just letting it come and go. And it's like a guest. It's not there to live there. We don't want to get stuck in rumination. It's just coming and going, and we learn to observe it, and then we learn to sit with ourselves. If you have a hard time sitting with your emotions and your anxiety, then I would maybe utilize guided meditations or guided visualization to help you get rid of those stuck feelings. So, for example, you could use a leaf on a river as an example. So, imagine whatever's coming up for you that you would usually engage in and ruminate about on a leaf. And instead of picking up that leaf and getting stuck with it and engaging with it, we just let it float by, let it do its thing, and let it leave. And over time, you'll realize that your mind is literally just creating scenarios to get that reaction from you, because it's trying to protect you from something. I don't want to get too into that right now, but that anxiety and these sensations are signals to get you to deal with them. And when you don't know how to deal with them effectively, we deal with them by ruminating, coping in unhealthy ways, disassociating. So when we learn to observe, they have nowhere to go but out. And so when we sit with our emotions, we could either engage with them in a healthy way, or we could just let them leave. Let's look at the comments. Launching into the quantum field, wood energy, raising dimensional, 5D, embracing calm, detoxification from negativity, people, places, and things. Yes, detox all of that from your life, and that will help immensely. So that will help you on an energetic level. Your vibration will lift, and you'll feel better just by doing those things. So that leads me into energy healing, like Reiki or chakra balancing. For chakras, you could do things that would help with each chakra. For example, if your root chakra is is not balanced, you could use affirmations that help you feel safe. I am safe in my body. I trust myself to make myself feel safe. I trust myself to keep myself safe. I trust that my emotions are signals telling me to deal with them with love. So we could approach each chakra by doing different things, and I could get into that in a different training. But for me, when I do chakra balancing, I do it on a body using a body awareness meditation. So I learn to just relax my body from head to toe. And this is maybe very fundamental and very basic, but it's a reason why these things are fundamental. And I always like to go back to basics in everything, because I find that their basics, and they're for a reason, and they're super powerful for foundational healing. So when I relax my body from head to toe, it's also addressing those energetic centers, those chakra centers, and you'll be able to feel maybe where there's tension, and that means your chakra is really tight. And it's also bad when it's too big. So when you learn to have body awareness and get in touch with those chakra centers, you can start to balance them by literally sending loving energy to them. So for example, in this, we want to really focus on maybe our heart and our gut, even our mind, because our mind is very often racing when it comes to anxiety and emotional dysregulation. So when we learn to get in touch with our heart space, our heart chakra, you could feel maybe tightness in your chest. And when we send love to it and we tap into that loving energy, our natural energy, God energy, bliss energy from our heart, because that's what God is. And that's what heaven is. It's literally bliss. When we tap into that loving energy that exists inside our heart, we can learn to release that tension, and that will automatically open up your chakra centers. So you could use your heart energy and send it to other places in your body where you experience tension or pain or anxiety or guilt or shame, and send loving energy to it. And there's that self-compassion piece again. So it'll really start to balance your chakras just by sending energy that releases that tension. And these chakras are associated with glands in our body, and that affects our health. It affects the way we process the emotions, and it gives us anxiety. It causes chronic inflammation. It leads to mystery illness or fatigue or chronic burnout. So we'll use that chakra balancing to get rid of that tension in those energy centers, so it could open up and create a feeling of ease and peace and relaxation. And that within itself will really help release that anxiety and those emotional blocks that exist inside your body. So figure out how to release tension from top to bottom or even bottom up, and it'll balance your chakras just by doing that. And then you can start to get more in depth with it, become more advanced, and target these things specifically, and then focus on them to open them up. And when you learn to do that, your wisdom will kick in immensely, especially when you get to the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. It'll open those things, and that will alleviate a lot of anxiety and help you get more into that observer mode, and to increase your window of insight. So you'll activate your pineal gland essentially just by doing this chakra rebalancing, and your intuition will get stronger because of it. And your receptor for those insights from the universe and from God will become louder, and you'll be more receptive to hearing them, because you're getting rid of these blocks and also opening up that window where you could hear it more clearly. And then you'll get clarity and you'll have less anxiety. So that's how you would use intuitive healing to understand your emotional blocks and to release them. So really super easy meditation just by relaxing your body from head to toe, and that'll impact your chakras and rebalance them, hopefully. So for some rituals that you could do to maybe add some magic to your life would be the new moon or full moon rituals. I want to think of the new moon as a way to bring in new beginnings and really cause like a hard reset. So you want to get in tune with that natural energy that comes in with the cosmic cycle, and use that to your advantage to return back to nature, to return back to the natural cycles that we are inherently attached to, that we aren't usually aware of and are so significantly blocked because we're not taught about it. We're not educated about it, and very few know about it or even how to utilize this natural energy. So if you have a difficult time doing these things on your own, I want you to incorporate rituals into your life that help you connect to the natural cycles of life, and even as a woman, your natural cycles inside of you and your flow. So new moon would be, a lot of women start their periods on new moons, and a lot of women start their periods on full moons, and that affects your luteal phase and just how you feel on a monthly basis. So obviously you have weeks that are really poorly, and then you have weeks where you feel amazing. So when you get in touch with these new moon cycles, you can use this energy to your advantage to take care of yourself so that you don't feel poorly, and you don't let the anxiety of your hormones take advantage of you and to really go haywire because of hormones. They're just crazy. There's no way to explain it, that hormones are just crazy. So when we get into their own natural cycles, we could do things that honor that. So use the new moon as a hard reset and use the full moon to manifest. And this will really help you return to nature and to cultivate rituals that tend to you on a primal basis and address your needs on a physical level first, emotional, cognitive level, and spiritual level when we use rituals and we use the cycles of nature to influence our decisions and the way we take care of ourselves and how we show up in the world. So these are some tools that I could offer to help you with your anxiety and emotional regulation that address things each on an emotional, cognitive, and spiritual level, physical level as well. And my tips for you would be to really practice that self-compassion piece and to give yourself love. Love is the power of the universe. It's what God is. God is that feeling of love. So the more we cultivate that, the more we vibrate on that frequency, which will get rid of those emotional blocks, heal your body on a physical level, get rid of that anxiety, put faith in the universe and trust in God. And that alone will help you really regulate those intense emotions. So really cultivate self-compassion every day. Self-care is a vital component every day. Yes, every day. Yes, no matter what you're going through, even if you don't have time, you need to cultivate time so that you could take care of yourself, and then you will have time for everything because you won't be bogged down by emotional dysregulation or anxiety. So with that, I want you to be very patient with yourself. Be very loving towards yourself every day and just show up in that energy and take care of yourself. Don't put up with shit you don't want to put up with anymore. Don't tolerate BS from anyone or abuse from everyone. Celebrate how you're showing up differently. Celebrate loving yourself. Celebrate God. Celebrate the abundance that already exists in your life, and tailor this approach to yourself. I know I gave a lot of tools that might be difficult for people. So I want you to find the things that work. And if it doesn't work, don't be afraid to try things that are different from even what I'm telling you now. And just find the things that fit. Selfishly love yourself. Yes. It might seem selfish now, but once you learn to operate with healthy boundaries with yourself and others, you realize it's not even selfish, it's selfless. And so you end up giving more to people because of it than you would otherwise. And people don't realize that until they start really honoring their boundaries and their own needs. So celebrate those wins when you show up for yourself. Celebrate wins when you show up differently in the world, or where maybe you would respond instead of react, where you would choose to do something different, where you would choose to do something that used to be blocked by anxiety or fear or doubt. And if you need help, ask. That's probably one of the biggest things that has catalyzed my own healing, was seeking help from someone. So I'm here for you. And obviously there's more support, advanced support, if you need it within the sacred circle I'd be happy to jump on a strategy call with any of you. So if you feel called to seek help from someone, I am here. I'm always here to help you. So put faith in God and the universe and yourself, and you will get rid of all the anxiety. Your emotional blocks will go away, and you will be regulated. I am so glad you are in my life too. I love you all so much already, and I'm so excited to come back. This is all I have for today, and I am here if you have any questions whatsoever, and I will be happy to address them in the next live. I will see you later. Bye-bye.